This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast. It's time to talk Monday Night Raw that took place on August 7th. A lot to talk about, a lot of good stuff that took place on Raw, and things that are starting to take shape towards Payback. I mean, we don't obviously have a full card yet, but things are starting to take shape, and Brock Lesnar is apparently on his sabbatical and will be back in time for WrestleMania season. So for all reports that we're seeing, now this could change, and WWE could just be putting out these reports as a way to make fans think this, but it does follow Brock Lesnar's schedule where, he takes that second half of the year off and he comes back towards WrestleMania season. So Brock probably has, a good 4 months off before we start talking about maybe him at the Rumble, maybe not entering the Royal Rumble, but rather attacking someone at the Rumble or shortly thereafter, leading to WrestleMania 40 in Philly. There's just no way Brock Lesnar's not going to be a part of that. Of course he is. And, if you're watching the rumors and having fun with them as I am, you look at this and go, well, looks like Brock Lesnar's facing Gunther. And that seems to be the general consensus that people are coming to. And I have no problem with that. And that would also lead you to believe that Gunther is losing the IC title before WrestleMania. And if it means he's having a match with Brock to beat Brock, well, there is some value there. And at that point, he'll be well past the claim of being the longest running IC champion of all time, too. So, but we're not here to talk about WrestleMania 40. Hell, we're not even close to Payback yet. We've got a few weeks there. So a lot to get to. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the show. It's always a pleasure to be able to come out here and just talk wrestling. Talk wrestling with you guys as you do whatever you do during your day, whether it's working or, hey, maybe you're relaxing today on a Wednesday, because I am recording this on a Wednesday. Super late, guys. I know this is probably the latest I've ever got the Monday Night Raw review out. The reason is that I went to a concert last night, and the way that my schedule falls, there's just no way. By the time I got home from the concert, it was 11 o'clock. I'm deadbeat tired. There ain't no way I'm gonna be able to pull out a Raw review. So that's the reason for those that care. Not often or ever that I am late on a Raw review, but that means also I have to come home tonight after work and record the mailbag. So that'll be a lot of fun. You guys have been pumping out those emails at me, and there's a lot to get to there. So all that said, we have new patrons. For those of you who are new to the show and taking advantage of the trials on Patreon, we have free trials there. We do have some new faces, so to speak. And let me get to those people. Michael Pope. Michael, welcome. Thomas Whale, welcome. You guys are taking advantage of those beloved free trials. And you can join Michael, and you can join Thomas over at patreon.com/WWE Podcast, because right now we're offering a free 1-week trial. All right. Oh, and Geraldo. I don't want to forget about you. Geraldo, shout out to you, my friend. Thank you so much for supporting the show. You also came on over the last couple of days, and I really appreciate it. So, all right, guys, it's time to talk Monday Night Raw, which, again, I thought was a solid show, and one that, I'm just going to get right to the highlight of it. To me, LA Knight and The Miz was the standout thing. And sure, Shinsuke Nakamura, we'll get to that, which is let's be honest, a hold me over for Seth, but still interesting and still fun for Seth and still fun for Shinsuke, because we haven't seen that matchup in quite a while. So we'll get to that. That'll be a fun conversation shortly, but to me, LA Knight and The Miz was the highlight of the night, and it was something that I didn't know it was a pairing I wanted. And there was a lot of real stuff in that promo. And it was the first personalized promo by LA Knight that wasn't just all about his catchphrases, because he can't lean on that forever. And I think WWE and LA Knight recognize that. I mean, you can't just lean on the things that work forever. Eventually, you have to kind of give a little depth to the character, and that's what they did Monday night. And I enjoyed it. You know, LA Knight thus far has gotten over by just coming out and cutting short, effective, catchphrasey promos, and it's gotten him this far. But he needed something like this, and I don't mind this every once in a while. I think it's good every once in a while to be able to tell fans who and what you are, what you came from. And this interaction between The Miz and LA Knight was fun. Having The Miz come out and say that he was, basically that he is just a flash in the pan, and then in 5 months they're not going to be cheering for him anymore, and that he didn't even shake The Miz's hand and all this stuff. And there's also he also called him an Attitude Era knockoff or something like that, and that they started cheering for him out of nowhere. So what I think they did is bring to the forefront all the criticisms, maybe even that The Office has against LA Knight, and bring it to the forefront and see how LA Knight responds. All those criticisms, everything that perhaps even some of the fans were saying, but I also believe some of The Office believes, because you can bank on it, that they had no plans for LA Knight to be in this position. None. They had to recalibrate. Which is why he didn't win Money in the Bank, which is why he didn't win the U.S. title. They had other plans that they said, hey, we're not going to deviate right now. We're not going to knee-jerk reaction. We're going to respond by not doing anything, which continued to get him over, but also start him from the ground up and see if the fans truly want to support him before we decide to put the machine behind him. I think that's exactly what this is. And it's a safe road to take. It also, is a message to fans that, we're not going to just, on your whim of what the flavor of the week is, or flavor of the month, as The Miz said, divert course, and then all of a sudden LA Knight's in the main event, and then the fans suddenly don't care anymore, and then they got to go back to it throws a wrench in, and it creates chaos. So WWE, and there's an argument for this, is taking the safe road with LA Knight for their own sake and for ours, and to see if we truly want LA Knight, or he's just kind of this fad right now. What I believe is he's not a fad. There is real support for him right now, real love, a real connection that the fans have with him. And I felt it since he was, he transitioned back to LA Knight from Max Dupree. He feels like a guy that knows what he's doing. And sure, he has an Attitude Era throwback. He has that feel, but that's part of the appeal. To me, that's not a knock. The Attitude, like Miz tried to present it as a knock. Like, no, it's not. It actually is something that's an attribute. To be able to reference somebody as a part of the best era in pro wrestling, or the most successful, best is subjective, but the most successful financially in viewership, you are going to try to make that a knock? So, the other thing was LA Knight giving a little bit of his own history. He said he was scratching and clawing to be able to get to where he is, and he didn't take the same road as The Miz, but that he was trying to make himself a dangerous man. I like that. That's good. The one thing I wish he did say, and I thought he was going to, was, Miz, you've been here 20 years. You got a 20-year head start, and yet I'm more over now than you've ever been in 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that ever crossed his mind to say, but it would have been a perfect kind of KO punch to The Miz, would be saying that. And he didn't, but it was still effective, giving him more of than just a surface level catchphrase, which are, by the way, super over. I mean, he's going to print money on t-shirts, and The Miz acknowledged that too, but he is. LA Knight's going to make a lot of money real quick, and he sees it, and he should. And he also feels mature. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't feel like this young and upcoming guy like Austin Theory that has to kind of prove himself in a way where he's, he doesn't really know truly who and what he is. He's got that young look to him. LA Knight's got a more mature look, and he's an older dude. I believe he's upper 30s, near 40. So he is not a spring chicken, which is good because he adds that sense of maturity to himself off the bat because he does look older than most of the guys on the roster. I think that's part of it. Of course, though, his promos have got him over. His music, it may not be sing-along, but it doesn't need to be. And that's right now, for some reason, it's the thing with top babyfaces is all their songs need to be sing-along. Right now, LA Knight's not. There's no sing-along to his song. I don't even know if you could. I mean, I don't think you could. I'm trying to think of a way you could. There's no way. But when you hear his music hit, it's just an explosion, man. And it's so fun to hear. It's so cool. We're watching something that hasn't happened maybe since Daniel Bryan. And it's something special right now. Now, LA Knight did say that, he has big aspirations. He has eyes on where he's going. And I think that was a wink and a nod to, yes, I will be in the main event. He even said he belongs in the main event. So it's just going to take time to get there. And it's going to be really a test on the fans here. If WWE continues to slowly, and it seems to be they are taking the slow road with LA Knight, do we have the patience and do we have the true love for LA Knight to keep going with him when he's not automatically, like we all want him in the main event right now? Got to be in the main event right now. He should win Money in the Bank and then win the championship. I think as fans, we need to slow down. WWE is totally aware of what we feel right now, but I think they are looking at this, and I would too. If I was inside WWE, I'd be looking at this as like, wow, okay, these are consistent pops. They're massive. He's been getting over without us pushing him, but now when we start to push him, we still need to be on the air of caution, on the side of caution, because just the way people are today, the attention span of fans today, and people in general in the culture is, people 5 seconds later they've forgotten what they said, or what they loved. It's a culture in which everything has got to have it now. Everything is, the news cycle. Look how quickly even massive major events cycle in and out very quickly. So with all that, my point is that though they're testing the fans to see if we really want LA Knight in the main event, or if he's just truly what the Miz said, a flash in the pan. And as fans, we need to continue to support him. I'm pleading with everybody that is an LA Knight fan that does truly want to see him in the main event eventually. We need to keep up this reaction, even when things are not looking like he's going to be in the main event, because they know where he's at. And WWE right now is testing us collectively as a fan base. I cannot emphasize that enough. Look at this as WWE testing us. And if we pass the test, he will go where we want him to go. But if we falter at the slightest hint that, this isn't so interesting anymore, they're not doing exactly what I want, screw this, then LA Knight's going to fall off, and he will be one of those one-hit wonders, so to speak. So that's the one thing I would plead with people, okay? Now, this ended this segment with LA Knight and Miz, with Miz attacking LA Knight, which ended with a BFT, which to me like sets up like a stunner, which is fun, and then it ends with just kind of it's a very interesting finish. And it's, to me, I actually like the finish. It does look effective and it's unique. So blunt force trauma gets delivered to the Miz, and LA Knight is standing tall. So, all right, now let's talk about the Shinsuke turn, and then we'll get to everything else on the show that happened. And there's a lot to talk about too with the women and all that. So we got a setup of the Judgment Day, and originally Seth and Cody and Sammy, but what happened was we got an attack on Sammy backstage. Which, by the way, have you guys seen pictures of Sami Zayn's elbow? Have you seen these pictures circulating? It looks like he actually is injured, and not from the attack. That was just part of the story to kind of further the fact that we need a replacement because Sammy is actually injured. I think he actually might be injured, and they just did this as a cover, because if you see those photos circulating, search around, guys. The elbow of Sami Zayn looks bizarre, to say the least. So if that's the case, and Sami Zayn is indeed injured, well, then, both Kevin and Sami are injured, and that adds to the long list right now. There's quite a list of stars that are injured, including Roman Reigns, by the way. Roman Reigns is reportedly actually injured. Apparently, there was an injury that occurred with Jay, by the way. And did I already say by the way? I said by the way like 8 times. Anyway, there was an injury that did occur with Jay early in the match, reportedly, and that he gutted it out through the rest of the match. I don't know specifics. Google might be your best source right now rather than me. I haven't dug too much into this. But I tweeted this out that, well, does it even matter that we put, Roman Reigns on the IL? Because he already has like an injury recovery period built in to every post-match time. Like, he takes so much time between matches. I don't even know if we would have known he's injured, right? Because he has so much time off anyway that it's built into his schedule. Would it even matter if we know? I mean, outside of a major injury that would require 8 to 12 months to recover, if it's even if it is a torn muscle, depending on the muscle, it might take a few months of rehab. Maybe a minor surgery to get fixed. I don't know. Again, guys, I don't know the specifics. Maybe that will come out. But for Roman Reigns' benefit, he already has a schedule that is perfect for injuries, and to mask them, and we'd never know he's injured because he doesn't wrestle anyway. So if he can talk, maybe he'll do that. And there are people calling, by the way, for Roman Reigns to be, stripped or to give up the championship. Are you kidding me? Roman Reigns, let me just say this. The only way Roman Reigns would relinquish the championship is if God forbid, his cancer came back. Something catastrophic happened where it was something that would take 8, 12 plus months to recover from. Or if he had some legit neck injury that the doctor said, hey, look, you can continue, but one wrong move and you're paralyzed. That kind of thing. It would have to be at the caliber of that for Roman Reigns to relinquish the title. Even if it's a minor to moderate injury, however that's categorized, I would not have Roman drop the belt. We're already used to him not defending it. He went from April to August not defending it. If he can talk, he can still be there. He doesn't have to take bumps. He boosts the ratings without lifting a finger. So my point is, though, that for those calling that Roman Reigns should relinquish the belt if he's injured, stop. Please. Outside of catastrophic injuries, ain't gonna happen. And that would be a damn shame, wouldn't it? If all of this boiled down to Roman Reigns having to just relinquish the belt. I know that some people will be like, well, wouldn't that be the magical part? He never was beaten for it. No, that's not. No. Don't give me that nonsense. Okay, this is building to someone needs to beat him. If it ends up being a one of those, like where Roman just relinquishes it because he's injured, that would suck. That would be awful. Not that they would make it purposefully a storyline, but if life actually just happened. But all right, I got way off on that tangent. I really would say that though there is an injury list a mile long right now in WWE. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, among others. Big E, which by the way, apparently Big E has been reportedly told by doctors the same thing that Randy Orton was told, and to not wrestle again. That came out yesterday, and maybe it was off a clickbait website, but I don't think it was. I got to check my sources. But it seemed as if that's the message to Big E. And that sucks for Big E, if that's the case. So we will see. All right, well, the tension is still mounting between Finn and Damian Priest. So that's continuing to be a lot of fun. And Rhea Ripley trying to play Peacemaker is not going to work. I mean, at some point this is going to crack. And PJ McDonough, did I say that? Or DJ? PJ McDonough. Boy, this is embarrassing. He's trying to also drive a wedge, I think, because he is the one that attacked Sammy to try to score points with the Judgment Day, but also he's the one that is friends with Finn Balor and seems to be having the back of Finn Balor, apparently, although we'll see. And he's the one that also tried to tell Damian Priest that, hey, you know, if the briefcase is what's coming between you and Finn, why don't you get rid of the briefcase? And Damian didn't like that. But you could interpret that as just cash it in. You know what I mean? I don't know if he meant like literally throw it in the garbage. He probably was saying that, you know, cash it in, I think was the implication, so that it's not hanging over the head of anybody else. But the Finn and Damian Priest story continues. Finn was not a part of the opening segment of Raw other than to come out later and have his own quote-unquote plan to attack Seth, which led to the six-man tag. Now, the six-man tag, after Sammy was injured, was Shinsuke Nakamura as the replacement. He offered to replace Sammy after coming up to Seth backstage, and it's also good to hear Shinsuke say more than one word, like Asuka. Imagine if they were like an intergender tag team. Would they even get any promos at all? But I saw this, and you know, Shinsuke always gives kind of weird facials, and like kind of he always has something in his mind he wants to do. His facials are very intriguing. You know, you never quite know what's in his mind. And so I saw this. I'm like, huh, he's looking at Seth kind of interestingly, like he wants to attack him, but also Shinsuke Nakamura has done that a million times to people that he's actually teaming with, so he didn't think too much of it. And, you know, during the match, Shinsuke Nakamura seemed fine. He was tagging in and out. And then at the end of the show, wham, Kinshasa to Seth Rollins. And, you know, I don't have a problem with this. I don't. I don't think anyone saw it coming. This is easily the biggest moment of Shinsuke Nakamura's career in the last 5 years. Maybe since he main evented WrestleMania with AJ Styles. This may be the biggest moment, even outside of the IC title run he had, because his IC title run was embarrassing. Not because Shinsuke's embarrassing, because of how they utilized him was embarrassing during that time. So this might be arguably Shinsuke Nakamura's biggest moment and biggest program he's going to have since that time with AJ Styles a number of years ago. So this was interesting, and again, it's not that this is good for two reasons. Number one, it puts Shinsuke Nakamura back in the main event, which I think a lot of people are looking at going, fun, good. You know, Shinsuke probably should be or deserves to be in the main event every once in a while. He's been with the company for a long time. He consistently puts on good matches. He is charismatic. He's got the check the box sing along song for a babyface, but now he's a heel. So there's that. And it also gives Seth a fresh opponent. You know, it gives Seth a fresh opponent between him and Cody, which eventually is going to happen, and they keep teasing. And so Shinsuke Nakamura is a nice, again, buffer between Cody and Seth. Now, when Cody and Seth happens, I don't know. Clearly, Shinsuke Nakamura is not going to win. Let's be straight with each other. There's no chance Shinsuke is going to beat Seth. None. So you can, you can already make Seth world champion probably through Payback and probably to Fastlane at a bare minimum, right? You've already got Seth champion to October. You know, like that's how we can kind of project forward safely, I think. So that'll be a fun little program. It might go 2 months, but I think it's probably a one-off to Seth going to, eventually Survivor Series and maybe facing Roman Reigns in an exhibition match. We'll see how they use Survivor Series this year. Maybe they do the War Games theme again. But Shinsuke, at the most, Shinsuke is going to go from Payback to Fastlane. We'll see. But my point is, though, Cody versus Seth is something they keep teasing, and they've done it over the last month or two. And sure, we've seen them fight 4 times before. If you remember, Cody Rhodes beat Seth, 3 times. Cody beat Seth 3 times in a row. And then, after Seth finally has, at the time when he was a heel, had seen the light, he attacked Cody, who had a torn pec at the time, with a sledgehammer. And we're all supposed to forget that. But they were going to fight it. They clearly were setting up for a 4th match until that happened with the pec injury, and then everything got reset by the time Cody came back. But my point is, when does this happen? Maybe Survivor Series if there's no theme or of the War Game, or there's no theme of Raw versus SmackDown or exhibition matches or silliness. I think that's probably where they're going, is Survivor Series with Seth and Cody. Or it could go all the way out to the end of the year, Rumble time. They could go all the way to Mania. If The Rock if he truly is going to be coming back to face Roman, that's a lock for Roman Reigns. So Roman Reigns is out of the picture. That means it's Seth versus Cody at WrestleMania. I think that's probably where they're going now that I think about it, because who else could be the one to face Seth at WrestleMania at this point? Seth and Cody, really good chemistry. It would also beg the question of, does someone turn heel here? So, just spitballing, guys. A lot of possibilities, but it's happening. All right. So Shinsuke Nakamura is going to be fun for a tiny amount of time, and then he'll go back to obscurity. I hate to say it, but he probably is. All right. So what else happened? Becky Lynch had an in-ring promo. She said that she spoke about how she's finally near the end with Trish, and Zoe Stark came out and accused Lynch of being obsessed and said that she already beat Lynch and claimed that Lynch is afraid of her. And then Stark said that the man left her balls at home, and that Lynch said Stark is playing second fiddle to Stratus, who won't even be around once she beats her next week. And Stark's rebuttal, she got the what stuff, and then dubbed herself the fastest rising star in WWE. Well, I think LA Knight would have something to say about that. Okay, but sure, fine. You're the fastest rising star. Maybe I guess maybe on the female side. So Shayna Baszler came out and interrupted Stark and had a black left eye, and Baszler said that Lynch should see how Ronda Rousey looks and took credit for driving her out of WWE. And Baszler took issue with Stark, claiming she's the baddest in the locker room, and Stark stood by her claim, and Lynch called for Adam Pearce to come out and book the match, and Lynch walked out and called for a referee. So that would tell me that Ronda Rousey is actually gone from WWE, or her contract expired, or maybe they're taking the break. Maybe she's taking the Brock Lesnar treatment. One thing, somewhat related, that I noticed, that I don't even know if WWE knew they did this. I don't even know if they did on purpose. What's the point of it? But for both Ronda and Brock, who came from, well, Brock originally from WWE, but then went to MMA for a while, both that were accomplished MMA athletes, household names in their respective fields. They both, WWE, both made the point on each of them individually, not together, but individually, that what they did after their match, well, for Brock touching gloves, or I'm sorry, for Brock after the match, showing that sign of respect, that the WWE said that's the first time he's ever done that. I have my doubts about that claim, but let's take them at face value. That's the first time in his career, in his combat athlete career, his combat career, that's something he did. And also for Ronda, they said that that's the first time she touched gloves prior to her match with Shayna. That was just interesting to me that both of them said that's the first time that they've done that in their combat MMA combat career, or whatever the case. It was just a weird parallel that they said that Brock did this somewhat similar thing that Ronda did. Very, very strange. I don't know what that means, or if it's a glitch in the Matrix. I'm not sure. But it does seem that Ronda, who is on the Brock Lesnar schedule here, seemingly is also taking time. Maybe she comes back for WrestleMania 42. I don't know. All right. But Shayna Baszler versus Zoe Stark did happen, and it ended with Shayna beating Zoe Stark in nearly 12 minutes. And she applied the Karafuda clutch. Baszler hoisted up Stark, struggled to power up Stark, and then hit the world's baddest slam, which Cole noted was the same move as Ronda Rousey's Piper's Pit finish, and Baszler made the cover and got the 3 count. So 12 minutes, and there's still some work to do here. I mean, both of these women are not super over yet. So I'm not really sure. All right, let's see. It's J.D. McDonough. Where did I come up with what did I say, PJ or something? J.D. Boy, some of you out there have already left the podcast. This dude doesn't even know who J.D. McDonough is. It's a long night, guys. I was at a concert. Okay. Ludwig Kaiser versus Otis. Otis got Kaiser down on the mat and ripped his shirt off, and Vinci climbed onto the apron. Otis suplexed Vinci into the ring, and Gunther showed up and kicked Otis while the referee was clearing Vinci from the ring, and Kaiser caught Otis with a kick and pinned him, so Kaiser beats Otis in 3 minutes. That's it. So, okay. Let's go here. We got Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods versus the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar. Okay, it's the same old nonsense from the New Day. They are frozen in time. They have nowhere to go with this group. I mean, this group has been around for 8 years, doing the same thing. That trombone needs to. I don't know what. Someone needs to take all of every trombone that Xavier can get his hands on and put it in some kind of crushing mechanism, right? I mean, please. I don't understand why. Whatever. So Kofi Kingston's back. Sorry, no one cares. Outside, there are some. Now I'm going to say that, but there are some people listening to this going, "What is his problem? I like Kofi." Well, most people aren't exactly sitting there on edge, waiting. Oh my God, when's Kofi coming back? When's Xavier? Stop. Right? Most people, I think, don't give a damn if Kofi Kingston retired tomorrow. They wouldn't. Kofi Kingston has not evolved as a character in nearly 10 years. He has been the same dude. Outside of Kofi Mania, which to me was still, and I know you guys are not going to like this. I don't care, particularly because everyone has their own opinions. The way that Kofi treated the WWE Championship was an abomination of the title. He was an embarrassment as a champion. Only because of the way he treated the championship, making jokes out of it, putting pancakes behind it. And when he lost it to Brock, didn't care, didn't try to challenge again. And I know that's part of the story. He didn't. It was just an abomination, making jokes all the time. He's this yippy yappy champion that he was an embarrassment. Worse to me than Jinder Mahal. I thought Jinder Mahal gets a bad rap more than he should. Anyway, I'm going to go on a diatribe, and some of you are like, why the hate for Kofi? It's not going to change my mind. I'm not going to change your mind. It's just kind of the way it is, right? So, all right. So, Sonya Deville's out due to a torn ACL, and so they're going to have to figure out who's going to become the women's tag team champion. So, add Sonya Deville to the long list of injuries. The injury bug has struck WWE right now in a big way. So let's see here. We got the main event, which I already went over, and Shinsuke Nakamura turning on Seth. I want to make sure I'm sure there's matches or a match or two I missed. I want to make sure I didn't here, but I don't know. It might actually pretty much be it. We did get Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed versus Shinsuke Nakamura did happen, and the match was fine. It was it's exactly what you'd imagine. There was a Nakamura chant at one point. Reed was dominant, and that pretty much is expected with every Bronson Reed match. Bronson Reed, given his size, dominates a lot of the match, and then there's some hope spots. But Shinsuke in a long match, this felt long. Beat Nakamura, or rather Shinsuke beat Reed in 12 minutes. So fine, this is just a weird pairing though between Nakamura, Reed, and Ciampa. I don't know what this is. Everyone's beating everyone else the other week, and it doesn't feel like there's any kind of consistency in who's winning here. I don't know what this is, but it doesn't really matter given what happened with Shinsuke. Shinsuke ends up turning on Seth. So, hey. All right, guys. Well, that's the quick and dirty Raw review. I didn't hit every nook and cranny. It's just so late that I didn't want to spend too much time. But I'm also about to head to work. It's a bit of a weird scheduling for me the last 24 hours. But NXT reviews coming. The mailbag's coming tonight. Lots more to do. Lots more to record for you guys. So thanks so much for listening. Again, if you want to go ad-free, patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Free trials right now. There's also a 1-week free trial on Apple Podcasts where you can go ad-free. If you want to go and directly use the Apple Podcast app, you can do that. Or WWEpodcast.com for ad-free VIP experience. And as my kids are screaming in the background, we also have a merch shop at WWEpodcastshop.com. All right, that's going to do it for me, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. As always, take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.